when I was smelling, I said, I want something that is unforgettable. I want something that is like, it's my story. It has to be memorable. It has to be like that. You know, we have like the new one. We want to smell clean, fresh, handsome. That, so when you smell, you say, no, he's not clean enough.
And it's cultural.
Yes.
The cleanliness.
It's
you agree?
culture.
Yeah.
So then
It's
we
definitely
go
culture.
like we as Jafra reuse, and then we do again some focus groups. So we can do focus groups with consumers, with consultants, with both. Now, in the case of the house, for example, because the project is very for this house, I want to make sure that the target audience that we are going is completely different from the house. So I really explain which is my target audience. So then we will smell, and then today we will smell Stell, Walter, and myself, because we will try to find out, and then that's the way. Of course, there's a lot. So it's like, just for you to know, to create a Jafra fragrance, it takes like 12 months, 1 year. It's not like,
No.
it's like 12 months, and there's a lot of research behind.
Can she answer the question on the chemistry?
Yes.
Body chemistry?
So that is an interesting question. So fragrance reacts differently on everyone's skin.
Right.
So when, when I go to parties and they're like, oh, you're a perfumer, they always have this question for me. So what I say is you have to try it. And you will live with the fragrance, because fragrance is a living thing, it evolves over time. So you put it on your skin, you live with it, and that's when your job comes in. If she doesn't like that fragrance, you suggest another one until she finds her fragrance. So that's the beauty of it. You try the fragrance and you talk through it, but it evolves, the top note, and then it goes into the mid note, it goes into the back note. That's why you need to try the fragrance. When you go to the big shopping centers, that's what you do. And I assume when you guys are talking to your customers, they put it on. So what would you say about that?
For me, there is also a lot of factors that will change in that way. For example, if yesterday night I had for dinner pasta with a lot of garlic and a lot of onion, of course today I'm gonna put my fragrance and it's gonna smell a little bit different than how it's gonna smell for her. So I think it's always very important for them, as Natasha said, try it, live it with it, because sometimes they arrive to me and say, why the fragrance that you are wearing doesn't smell the same to me?
Does it smell the same on me?
On me,
Yeah.
it says, it depends on how your skin is moisturized, depends on the diet. If I have pasta with garlic yesterday night and she didn't, then it's gonna smell different.
Or even medicines.
Yeah, vitamins.
Vitamins. So we need to be careful of that, because
skin.
this might be part of the thing. I wanted to say something that is very important. We have another department that works directly with the creation team, which is sensory. We measure all of our Jafra about in timings. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. So there is a very scientific way that we measure that our fragrance lasts more than 8 hours, because we wanted to create an experience from 1 day. So that even though it doesn't mean that a fragrance that lasts more is a strong or sweetie or even gourmand. No, it's about that our conjunctions of notes need to last at least more than 8 hours, so the experience can be perceived, especially by others, which at the end people is looking for. And also that department makes another test, which for us is very important, and this is part of the guidance. We need to present fragrances with very technical measures and technical papers. The other is the distance. So is it a fragrance possible to be perceived by someone that is 1 meter, 2 meter? So how is the distance that the people can perceive the fragrance? So during the process, we made that adjustment, because that's another part of the story. It's a very scientific way to assure at least the technical one. But at the end, the most important is the hedonic, the smell. And also I would suggest something. Pay attention to the stories, because more and more we are incorporating, and we should be incorporating, new generations. So new generations are also looking for new hit stories. So, and in the catalog, And in the way they market the fragrance, there are the stories behind. So you need to feel that, because you need to incorporate new consumers and newcomers into your portfolios of consumers. So this is also very important, because we are testing more and more with consumers of the target Jafra wants to reach. So that's another important part. And we did a lot of tests, you cannot imagine. And that's why we wanted to feel your concerns, your dreams, because we wanted to understand, okay, where are they looking for? Because you have a lot of information.
What I want you, Natasha, sorry, is the first part of the top notes
Yes.
is like the top note, las
Yeah.
notas de salida. How long does it take, like the top note?
The top note stays maybe 10, 20 minutes.
Okay, so that is important to say. Then the hard note,
The middle.
so that the middle one, really the middle is the fragrance. How long does it stay?
It stays for hours, like you could go from 1 hour to 4 hours, 1 hour to 3. It depends on the structure of the fragrance, but hours, 3-ish hours.
In average.
Yeah.
Never. And the third one?
You start smelling it into the 4th, 5th hour.
And
it can
Until
last.
8, 9 hours.
And the other thing that I want you to explain is the architecture. So it doesn't mean that there's a completely different smell. So
No.
can you explain, because I think Pat comment is like that. So it's like, even though we create and we have in perfumes this triangle
Yeah.
to really try to understand, can you explain, because everything is like a mix match combination.
So
Can you
when we study perfumery, you study the way things evaporate with time, right? So it's all about catching the evaporation. So you know that the citruses, they go fast, and then the fruits and the green notes come after. So in our minds, we look at it as a
Cohesive.
it's like not a game, but it's like a practice of how we're going to get these notes to, you're like balancing all these notes, like, okay, this one is there, but now I need something to fasten this citrus, and I know this wood comes up to the top, so I'm gonna put this wood.
Like music.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like notes. It's exactly that. It's like when you listen to music, it has texture. And when you sometimes hear some music and you, it's so thin. Perhaps it's missing an element in the back or something in the middle. It's the same in perfumery. It's trying to play with different times of volatility, different sharpnesses in note, low notes, high notes, mid notes. And that's the art of it. It's like trying to get all of those to be played in a symphony. So, and these notes, as we know how they evaporate, you know when one, you can show one, or you can wrap one. Sometimes an evaluator will say, you know, Natasha, in your mid note you have too much jasmine. But if you lower, what I say, if I lower the jasmine, we will not, it will become weak, the fragrance, because this is the whole store. They'll say, you know what I'll do? I'll wrap the fragrance. I'll wrap the jasmine. I'll put maybe a musk, or I'll put a fruity note. So it's not naked, but it's starting to get dressed up. You're putting like a pair of shoes, you're putting, you know, your jewelry. So it's a very complex question, you know?
Sorry. But you know, something that, the way that I smell, I smell first, and then I leave them. And then I go back. Because I really want to understand the performance of the perfume. In real life, you do not do that. You know, because I can't do that because we are smelling. But that's why, if you see, for example, Sephora, this Christmas, they are having the 7 ml package.
Yes.
Atelier, fragrance, they are having like top fragrance. Because what people like to do is to experience. Right. So for me, one way the person could understand if that fragrance is good for her or for him is sampling. That is why it's super important. You have to buy this 7 ml and you can have it, and then you can say, okay, try it during the day and you will see the performance. Because remember, the top note will long last 10 to 20 minutes. But the important thing is the hard note. Really the heart is the core, is the heart, that's why it's called a heart. It's the character of the fragrance. So try it and then you will see. So for me, that will be the recommendation, so people could really understand the evolution of a fragrance. And then if you give them, if you invest in a sample, they won't call you then later on and say, oh, I buy something I didn't want how it evolves. You know? But the evolution, it is not normally super different. It's more or less, it keeps like the spirit, you know, of the
Yeah.
fragrance. It's like, I don't know, this is like the.
That would be a
There
good,
is something
good
very
Christmas
important.
gift.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it's very important to mention that when we create a fragrance, when Natasha and Lucia are creating the fragrance, they have a list of ingredients, like a recipe. So that goes to the plant and it's manufactured. We always use the exact same ingredient with the same supplier, so the fragrance don't change. Don't say, oh yeah, the fragrance did change during the time. That doesn't happen. We always deliver the same quality with the same ingredients, the same amount of each ingredient. So when you get that comment on, oh well, the fragrance changed, it's not true. It's us who changed. Perception.
Yeah.
It's the
That
perception.
ties into my question, how long does a fragrance, I mean, how long shelf life for a fragrance before it might change?
Like,
It depends on the fragrance and the ingredients, but usually we get 1 year shelf life on the meat product, and then when it goes to the market, it can go up to 2 years, but we need to take care of the fragrance, of course. It's like when you eat an apple,
Yeah.
if you eat it and you leave it on a table, then it goes a little brown on the edges. That same thing happens to the ingredients. It's natural ingredients and synthetic ingredients. So we don't put the fragrances and in our
the
car,
sun.
on the sun. We have to, that's why they say keep it in a cool place. And- Exactly, and if you're carrying it in your purse because you like to retouch, then you take care of your fragrance as a precious object, of course.
Judith said something very important that Natasha was explaining. The evolution of the fragrance is it's a cohesive process. I mean, it's a spirit. Cohesive. Cohesive. So the spirit driving through the time. So, and sometimes, by the way, we want to create some distractions. Because it's important, depending on the target, depending on the concept. But in general, the spirit is very well, let's say, protected, and they want to balance. For me, what defines a great fragrance is a fragrance that is addictive. Addiction is very important.
Yes.
And let me tell you that every time you want to smell, and for us, this is a very magic moment when we see in our test consumers and the smell, and we record them to see the expressions.
And my story, for example, we create some notes that are addictive. So people will buy it and will buy it.
Yeah, repurchase.
Yes.
Repurchase.
I saw that happen this month when we launched it. I saw several of them and I got another order. So it's like they're overusing it because it becomes addictive.
That's addictive.
I like over usage of fragrance though. I like that.
Oh, I'm happy. Yeah, they went through a bottle
I
already
did have
in a
a
month.
question. Yeah, when I first came into January, and I still remember it, but it was so strong. One of the things I found was I'd get headaches from, especially, well, that wasn't inexpensive, but what I find is the fragrance I like the best is one I don't smell after a short time, because then I don't get a headache. But can anybody else? I mean, sometimes I'll say to my husband, "Can you smell me?" But that's how I, like, we had a gardenia before you changed the one that's current. I love that, because I put it on and people say, "Oh, that smells so good." But it must have been light, because I couldn't smell it. Is that odd?
I know, I think that's another of the big myths of perfumery.
Yeah.
That people use fragrances and they are like, I don't smell anymore. So you put more,
No.
and you're like, no, I don't smell anymore. But
I don't do that.
the neighbors are smelling it.
Is it okay if I can't smell?
No,
That's normal.
yeah,
Right.
it's
That's
like
good.
you get
That's the
adapted.
only kind of
That's
stuff.
good.
Yeah,
But
and
I
your
don't smell
nose gets
myself
adapted to
because I get a
the smell.
Yeah, you don't smell
So
it.
that's normal.
Or
How'd
if
you
I
know?
put something on that's not right, I smell it and I end up with this, like the Perimois, I can't deal with it because it never goes away. Okay.
Ooh, I just did
But Anna, this is really important because maybe for you are more the citrus fragrances, the they are more light.
Or like white flowers, it sounds like you like white florals, like a gardenia.
Yeah.
Beautiful is a bouquet of flowers. So you touched on a point where fragrances is also like fashion, right? So as you go through the decades, you
Yeah.
see how fragrance and social evolution affects fragrances. So it's the same thing how we were talking before. I used to like this, but now I like this. It's also the pH. It's a whole combination of things, but there's also it's also part of fashion, part of trends, part of what's happening out there in the world that affects the fragrances we wear as well. So I think you like white florals, but maybe beautiful was okay in the 80s, which
When I
you
was
liked.
20.
80s was about opulence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was about look at me, look at this
Right.
fragrance I'm wearing. Where when we went into the 90s, we went into more watery fragrances,
Interesting.
more sheer fragrances. So I think you like white flowers, but maybe you just need a more sheer, a less.
I like the new, what is it, the pink, the rose, not the rose.
Flores?
Flores.
Flores?
Flores. I love
Well,
flores.
go for it.
And I wear it all the time.
Do it. Just because you can't smell it doesn't mean others can't smell it.
Okay, I'm good.
So I also want to say really quickly that it is okay to meet a fragrance that you don't like. It's impossible that one person can love our entire portfolio of fragrances. That's not feasible.
I do.
We have to date them.
I love all of them.
We have to date them, seriously, and, you know, take them home with you, let them meet the family, because when you're wearing that fragrance, you know, your husband or your kids or whatever it is, they also interact with it as well. You know, so it's just because you meet somebody that doesn't like one of our fragrances doesn't mean they won't like any of the fragrances. It's just a matter of finding what it is that she likes. And I'm hearing Anna, and I can hear specifically what she likes, so I know that I would never, you know, maybe suggest to her Adderese Night, because that sweetness and the being moi is in Adderese Night. You know, so it's just finding out.
But I have a lot of clients that love it.
And that's okay, that's okay.
I want
Personal
people to love
choice.
It's
whatever they
it's
like.
personal
Do you know
choice.
what is the word that
Personal preference,
brings
yes.
up more when we do open tests without any limitation to Jafra users and consumers? Do you think what is the best word that people define Jafra nowadays in US and other markets?
What is it?
Jafra is the premium brand.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Do you know that let me tell you that people want Jafra to be the premium brand in the relationship market. It's luxury. So, and we want you to keep doing and to keep being the luxury brand. So feel proud of that, because let me tell you that this is not easy.
Okay, so, a long time we were at a meeting and they were talking about fragrances, and they told us, and I can't remember what it was, if you put it on and you test it, if it's bitter, it's good for you, if it isn't.
Oh, I don't
You
know.
ever heard that?
No.
Do not. Remember that?
No, taste it.
Taste the fragrance.
I know.
So cute. I love it. Lauren, I love it.
I was like.
No, just scrap that one. Forget it.
But how can you just tell if the fragrance is right? Is there
Exactly. You try it.
That's it.
And try it. If you like it.
So girls,
So
let's because we have a limited time, I suggest to enter into the demonstration.
Yes.
So the idea of the demonstration is let you to do the same in your events. So let's enter into the demonstration side if you want to do exactly. So
We're gonna
write
give
your
you-
questions, and at the end we can keep it.
We're gonna talk about these 5 fragrances, and we're gonna try to explain you deeper about them, tell you the story about the fragrances. Of course, we have Natasha here, she's gonna guide you in the fragrance. But also we're gonna give you some hints on how can you present these fragrances to your clients. How can we can make an experience on how we present the fragrance. So now we're gonna start with tender moments.
Yay!
So if you could see here, we arrange a nice floral bouquet. Of course, we have a little dog because it's part of the essence of tender moments. We have the floral part because the fragrance has rose. So why don't we arrange a nice rose bouquet with it? And then you want to explain we can smell one of the raw materials of the fragrance.
Yeah.
Yes.
How to use the fetus olfactory.
So we're gonna hand you an olfactory blotter, and it has two lines here on the right. To the right. So we're gonna fragrance this part. We're gonna perfume this part, and then you're gonna have the raw material there. You can fold it a little bit so it doesn't contaminate the tablecloth, and you're gonna smell it like this.
And don't touch your nose.
Don't touch your nose. It'll
If
stay.
you touch your nose, you contaminate your nose,
So
so
just
just leave it like this.
Just like this.
And you can put it on the table and you can return to it and it won't be contaminated or anything with the other materials.
I have a question that I get asked a lot with the Tender Moments line for the younger generation that's so into natural everything. They'll ask me, is this all natural? Is it like botanical? Is it, if they give it as a gift to somebody that's really into natural, is it gonna be okay?
Okay, we comply with all regulations, which allows us to use the fragrances on the market that they're designed. So this fragrance is specifically designed for kids, so it won't harm them. You don't have to worry about it. Another thing about the naturals, when we have naturals, there are some ingredients that we investigate. Well, we investigate all ingredients, and we know that some of the ingredients have to be used, as Lucia mentioned, in a specific dosage, lower than than this dosage. So there's no harm in it, ever. And a thing that we need to consider is that we cannot use that many naturals because it's not sustainable for the earth. So we do the synthetics because we have to manage with the earth we have and we need to take care of it. So we do the specific ingredients, the appropriate ingredients for each age, and we take care of the earth.
When we talk about ingredient, it's an ingredient that is inside the fragrance. What we want you with this fragrance, first one, is to leave how this ingredient is put it and expressed into the whole final fragrance. So you are smelling
Rose oil.
Yes.
So it's very petally, it has a touch of like a honey also on nose.
sweetie.
Yeah, sweet. It's very pretty and feminine.
And it's earthy also.
This is the Tender Moments?
This is a note inside.
Oh,
Rose oil.
oh, a note oil.
We want you to
I
understand
see.
what is inside.
That's what's on the little thing.
Yeah, sure, like a rose tea, yeah. It's perfect.
Now you will see how this ingredient, why we do that? Because you can use it, the ingredients of the pyramid to express the pyramid. So we put it flowers, so in your events, this, believe it or not, Tender has this kind of rose notes, very tender notes, so people can connect with the overall story.
You have rose? Okay.
I'm handing out Tender Moments right now. So you have rose, which is one of the main ingredients. And now this is a complete fragrance, which you can smell in the product that you have in the market.
So there is another ingredient that you will find in Tender Moments that is vanilla. So of course you can find that creamy, powdery effect that is at the back. That is the one that's gonna give us that tender moment, of course. That part of confidence, of comfort, and creaminess. And one way to explain this ingredient and this whole demonstration, as we said, we arrange a bouquet, but we are gonna give you a small cupcake of vanilla. So that's a good way to relate the fragrance with your clients. At the end, a vanilla cupcake is very sweet, very creamy, very tender, very indulgent. So it's a nice way to relate the fragrance with something they can even try. And it's very easy. You can just go like to a cupcake store and ask for a vanilla cupcake and probably add a little hint of honey on it. and it will work perfect. And it really makes a sense with the fragrance.
Can you imagine this opulent, elegant rose being into this product? How this material brings this brightness to the final product. So that's why we want you to compare. So pay attention to the description of the fragrance. You can in your events put these flowers. You can tender moments. You can create a tender moment in your demonstration, so people can, your cupcakes, people can, recreate what it's all about.
And then another nice touch that we can do, we create these small cookies that has a small dog on it. So you can give it as a giveaway. We are gonna give you as a giveaway these cookies. So at the end, they are gonna give you one of it so that you can try later. Of course, if you want to try now the vanilla cupcake, that will work, just for you to feel the vanilla, to really relate to this tender moment. But these are like small, cute examples we can do, and that the clients are gonna really remember the fragrance. Like remember about the cupcake, vanilla cupcake, very indulgent, very sweet, very creamy.
And then you have with your child,
Yeah,
it's
feel
like that
the
sweet,
child
indulgent moment that you share.
So
this fragrance,
you are showing us
That rose is inside this fragrance.
right, the tender moments.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Right, so now, right, so all the rose is in the tender
Yeah.
moments.
The rose is
Now
just a
it's in the
small
tender
piece that we can find inside this fragrance. Remember that
Right.
fragrances are the match of a lot of small pieces, a lot of small raw materials. So inside this tender moment, you're gonna find a small piece of rose, a small piece of vanilla. So at the end, when you put all of these small pieces together, we can have tender moment.
It's a symphony.
Yeah.
This is time span, and it's always about a huge hug. This is a one hug. And people will always love it.
It smells like a baby.
Yeah, baby powder.
Like your innermost baby.
I love that it stays with the child, doing the body wash
Yeah.
all day. You can smell that. Oh, it's so good.
And the same perfumer who created this also created the Polo Blue, the original Polo, Spice
really?
Flower. Yeah.
Wow.
What is his name?
Love it.
Carlos de la
He's one of the top perfumers in the world.
Just so we can touch back on that whole notion of,
He's in New York, right?
guys in New York is my neighbor.
By the way,
How was that cupcake?
now the next.
The next fragrance we're gonna smell is London Girl, and we're gonna smell also,
Midori Accord.
we're gonna smell a Midori Accord. This is created by the perfumers also, so they can replicate an ingredient that it's not mainly natural. So, they have all the methods and all the experience to recreate something that the humans create.
Natasha, can you explain what is an accord?
Oh yeah, sure. Like for me, it's like, yeah, an accord. So an accord is like a snapshot of something. Like, okay, so for instance, it's a small piece inside the symphony that has a different message. For instance, like this is just a cocktail. So it's a smaller composition that is put together and then incorporated into the fragrance to enhance the signature, to enhance the message, to enhance the symphony. So it's a small little piece inside a bigger symphony.
So now we're gonna apply London Girl for you to find this small accord in the fragrance. But I would like to show you how we arrange here. So if you see, we just put together a nice magnolia type of roses here of bouquet, because we know this fragrance contains magnolia, so it has the Midori cocktail that is a part of this beverage. So we put it together. So one nice thing you can do is that you can put the fragrance in the bouquet. So when your client arrives, they can smell the fragrance in the rose. So that's a nice way. So at the end, when they leave the house, you can give the flower. They will bring the fragrance with them, and it's a nice small touch. And it's nothing very big.
But it brings some with the memory, the the snapshot, the memory that they spent with you, and they'll remember the fragrance, so then they bring it with them.
So now this is the London Girl fragrance. You are gonna find the Midori Accord on it. It has magnolia.
And this is the actual fragrance.
This is actual.
So youthful, you know?
And this was the accord.
Young and fun. So that's what I would keep in mind when you smell this fragrance. For me, I see
Yeah.
younger. I do too.
No, it's my husband's favorite for me.
That's okay. You're young.
Sure, it smells great, but I was very surprised because I have a 15-year-old daughter. I would have
So if I use it, will I feel young?
No, she doesn't.
It depends on your state of.
And this would be good for you because you're spontaneous.
Yeah?
And actually, I'm gonna tell you that my daughters who are.
I've never tried this one.
That's their favorite, the Sweetie Pop.
It's kind of weird.
It's gourmand, sweetie pop.
Yeah.
How would you describe to it?
It's like a cupcake. Sweetie Pop is the lollipop. Yeah, so it's a more fruity, more fresh, a little bit more grape. Yeah,
To leave the
very
previous one, so
control.
cannot.
And here there's another hint. We put some macaron on, together. So we have a vanilla macaron and a rose macaron. So it's also another way for you to show the fragrance. It really matches this young girl that is in London, that is trying new things, with little macarons. So everything, how can we place the fragrance with the notes? So at the end it has rose, which has a very flowery note, just as magnolia. So it's a nice way for us to show it.
How many different fragrances could a client try? And still be able to taste? Well, you have to take it in doses. Like, if you have too many fragrances and you just don't smell the one you put on. So I would, it's like a person, you meet somebody, you meet one person at a time. Maybe you meet two people 1 year, and another 1 year, or percentage, which will flowers, with the macarons, and then you have to and it's in our generation. So when you wear people, that can get a little crazy. If somebody likes something, like I said, I think that's a little, sometimes those little, we talk about bad trips. That would be a good way. I tested the fragrance,
It's delicate.
that is really, try it at home when you're in a virtual environment, because it is overwhelming.
But they have to put it on their skin to know how it's going to smell. I mean, I can hardly wear anything. So it just all stinks. It stinks. It's interesting.
What about when they say put it in here in between?
Why not?
That they say that really.
The heat, fragrance likes the heat of the body. They don't necessarily like this. The friction messes with the molecules, but to spray it in places where your body generates heat.